Good morning, Professor, distinguished guests, and class. Today I will be discussing the use of robotics in homeland security. Let me begin by discussing the issue. In homeland security, there are too many facets to be able to constantly be monitoring, patrolling, and training for the next big event. With nearly 2,000 miles between the United States and Mexico, 5,525 between Canada and the United States, there is simply too much border to patrol and monitor without the use of UAVs, UASs, as well as UGVs. Furthermore, there is almost 12,500 miles of coastline, not including the Great Lakes, that needs to be monitored. This, much like Border Patrol, is not only expensive, but taxing on time and resources of the agencies that are required to monitor these coastlines. In order to alleviate the strain of the coastline patrols, the Department of Homeland Security has adopted an underwater surveillance technology, the robot tuna, or more commonly known as the bioswimmer. Developed in Massachusetts by the Boston Engineering Corporation, the goal is to use this technology to explore flooded areas of ships, inspecting oil tankers, or patrolling U.S. harbors to watch out for suspicious activity. Robots also provide an incredible asset when it comes to dangerous situations such as disaster response, search and rescue, radiological surveying, and SWAT operations. These are the robots that provide specialized values to the members of the Department of Homeland Security. In regards to disaster response, there have been numerous advances to unmanned ground vehicles that can provide very specific tasks and capabilities that assist in saving lives after a natural or man-made disaster. This includes UAGs that can carry people and equipment, as well as vehicles that can be outfitted to be controlled remotely.
The kit for outfitting a Bobcat for remote control use takes roughly 15 minutes to set up, and the machine can return to manned operation with the flick of a switch. With their heavy lifting capacity, the Bobcats could move rubble caused by explosions.
Please take a moment to look at this picture and imagine being a first responder trying to climb into one of these small holes to see if somebody's there. As you have just seen, robotics have the capability to provide heavy lift operations in areas that may be contaminated and unsuitable for personnel to enter. Another benefit of the robots in regard to disaster response is the capability to use smaller robots to enter areas where a human cannot. An example of this is the snake, which has the function to be controlled through tight rubble to perform search and rescue for survivors without wasting extensive amount of time digging through the rubble. Another small robot that assists with getting into small places that personnel can't is the Dash, which is one of the most versatile and inexpensive robots, costing less than $1 for each one to be produced, by using cardboard for the body, old cell phone pieces and the camera for the sensor, and a remote control from Radio Shack.
The secret sauce is not the electronics, it's the structure to run like a cockroach, even climb obstacles. Run away at 5 feet per second via remote control. This isn't like holding a robot, it's like holding a bird. I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it. With the next step in robots, Richard Hart, ABC 7 News.
A slightly larger UGV that has been developed for the use during urban search and rescue is the Quince, but is more commonly known as the breath sensor, which has the capability of delivering food to stranded victims, opening doors and squeezing through them, but the most impressive part is that it has a highly calibrated carbon dioxide sensor which can detect human breath as well as body warmth. The Federal Emergency Management Agency requested from the Department of Homeland Security's Science and Technology Directorate for the development of response robot performance standards. The DHS teamed up, and I quote, with the National Institute of Standards and Technology to develop comprehensive standards related to the development, testing, and certification of effective technologies for urban search and rescue robotics. These USR robotics performance standards cover sensing, mobility, navigation, planning, integration, and operator control in order to ensure that robots can meet operational requirements under the extremely challenging conditions that rescuers are faced with, including long endurance missions. In January of 2011, the Test and Evaluation and Standards Division, Science and Technology Directorate of the Department of Homeland Security, alongside the NIST Office of Law Enforcement Standards, published the standard test methods for response robots. Using the standard test method development cycle, they were able to create and develop a process for the best methods for testing the robots, resulting in the test and evaluation of these 8 robots for use during urban search and rescue missions. When it comes to UGVs being used for radiological surveying or in hazardous material situations in contaminated environments, there are several excellent functions that are provided. These functions allow for the operators to be outside of the contaminated or dangerous area while still having the capability to see what is happening in these contained areas. With the capabilities of these robots, they are able to identify what the contaminant is or the degree of radiation exposure at specific points. Furthermore, the UGVs are able to use their robotic arms to shut down switches, close contamination control doors, plug leaks, and overpack broken chemical containers.
The sensors that are on board allows hazmat teams to go into unknown areas with unknown contamination and establish whether the levels are safe for personnel to enter.
UGVs are also capable of being equipped to hold equipment such as fire hoses, enabling firefighters to be well out of range of contaminated areas or high-intensity fires. Larger recovery robots are especially helpful during a hazmat site search and recovery. Recent developments include the BEAR, or Battlefield Extraction Assist Robot, capable of lifting soldiers and heavy equipment. Another large recovery robot is the RoboCube, which was developed in Tokyo for use at bomb and disaster sites. Its primary purpose is to retrieve victims from dangerous locations and has an included oxygen tank on board for the victim during transportation to safety. The BEAR is capable of multiple maneuvers and actions, having been designed for use in a military theater of war. However, while waiting for a contract, the BEAR is currently being used by both healthcare and logistics fields. Tactical robots have been used by many local and federal law enforcement agencies during operations within the United States. Since this is the closest function to war operations, the robots are already built and tested for these tactical operations. There have been many new developments that allow these robots to be used in stateside operations in a more functional manner dependent on the needs of the team. Some have been made smaller and easier to control in close environments, where some have been developed to be shields for SWAT teams facing standoff situations with gunmen. Small robots such as the Throwbot and Pointman are designed specifically for a quick reconnaissance into an area that is otherwise dangerous to get into. The Throwbot is roughly 1.3 pounds and is activated by pulling a pin. It can withstand multiple throws of up to 120 feet and falls of up to 30. The Throwbot is equipped with an infrared camera for darkroom use. The Pointman robot is slightly larger, however, it can have a carbon fiber disruptor attached to it in situations where it may be necessary to fire a single shot at an explosive device. This robot also has an infrared camera for dark areas. Larger robots have been used in tactical situations, especially where there is a suspected explosive or trapped location. The FBI used one of their EOD robots to make the initial entry into the house of the shooter in Aurora, Colorado, after he told investigators that he had planted explosives for them. EOD robots have been useful in many situations, such as the Times Square attempted bombing, as well as the search of the house of the Boston Marathon bombers. The large robotic shield was initially developed for the Massachusetts State Police and was scheduled to be demonstrated with them the week of April 21st. However, due to the Boston Marathon bombing, it was instead demonstrated by a police department in Maine. The robot is the first of its kind developed in a similar manner as armor plating for military vehicles, allowing for up to 6 officers to take cover behind it. In conclusion, robots have become an incredibly valuable part of the Department of Homeland Security and absolutely should be continued to be developed for more common users. They should be available for more organizations and agencies that could benefit from the use of UGVs. With technology for UGVs that is currently in production, first responders of all hazards would be able to use robotics to save lives without putting their own people in danger. The uses of all sizes of robots would benefit disaster relief efforts as well as terrorist response organizations. In the long run, the use of robotics could benefit the entire cycle of attacks and disasters, including the prevention of explosives, tactical assaults, tornadoes, earthquakes, and urban search and rescue. I personally hope to see more robots become an accepted part of the Department of Homeland Security and provide benefit to the national defense and security mission to protect the American way of life. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I will respond to you as soon as possible. Perhaps the next step in Homeland Security robotics isn't that far off. Let's make it happen.